Hello, people. Welcome to my world. Eventually, down the road, as I get more things organized and put in place, we'll have fancy dancy music for introductions and maybe even title pages. Ooh, who knows? But in the meantime, welcome to my world. Welcome to my world is a segment that I'm introducing. Well, I introduced it previously, but we never quite completely followed through with it. I'm going to try to faithfully follow it all the way through this time on the Netzari and their histories and doctrines and reason and rationale behind some of those teachings and doctrines. It's going to be an interesting journey. Some of it will be flip-flopped back through timelines and stuff like this. But each and every topic will be taken with such seriousness and revelation as well. Those that are wondering about the Netzari, what are we? What do we do anyway? I'd like to say that, number one, very most set us apart is the fact that you can't convert. You either are or you are not, is what the teachers will tell you. You came to a true Netzari group. You are not baptized into our congregation. Is there any type of rigmarole that you have to go through? It's just simply a belief system, a pattern of living, and you feel that that realistically is what you believe and do even in your past, even before you came to know the word Netzarene. I know in my personal history, I was already believing and teaching things that I didn't know about, only to find out that it was more prevalent amongst the Jewish people than it was Christianity, as well as the fact that it was more common to the Messianic and in particularly the Netzarene school. Christianity as a whole is divided by denomination. We're divided by school or scholastic system. So we don't refer to ourselves as a denomination per se, but a school of thought, a way of rationale, and a place of doing things the way we do them. We do it because our head rabbis did that many moons ago. The history of Netzrim date way, way, way back. We were one of the first groups to be alive on this planet. What you guys call Christian, if you read in your Bible, says in Acts they first became known as Christians. So what were they called before that? They were referred to as Messianics or followers of the Messiah, not Christian. Christian was a loathing term. It was a demeaning term. It was never a term of pride, as many people wear it today. Not that saying that Messianic is a form of pride, nor is it a form of shame. It simply says I'm following a particular line of teaching that belonged to my one who I accept as a Messiah. Today, the Messianic teachings are divided into major schools. Those, like us, who believe that Yeshua, the one you call Jesus, really was who he said he was. He was the Son of God, he's the deliverer. His price is atonement for sins. He was crucified, buried, and rose on the third day and ascended to his Father, and that one day he will return, set up his throne upon the kingdom, and rule from Jerusalem and judge all the nations. And those which are found worthy will be caught up to live with him in paradise, and the rest will be cast into the lake of fire, where they should be consumed and burnt forever. For those who don't believe in eternal fire and eternal death, I remind you them of the Bible verse which simply says it is appointed for man to once to die. So once we're dead, we're dead. But once we're risen to be judged, both the wicked and the righteous, we receive eternal life. We can only die once. So the rest of the time is to be dying permanently on a permanent, eternal basis. To me, that may be one thing, and the fire and the flame of agony and anguish is another thing. But to view and see God's face, to see our Messiah's face, and hear the words, I don't know you, is the punishment far worse than anything that could be handed out to me on this plane or any thereafter. Netzarim are peculiar people. Without the means of your conversion, you simply wake up one day and say, you know what? This is the path I need to follow. To know for certain, all you need to do is ask any Netzarim for the Jerusalem 10 or 11, or is it 13? Code. There's a standard set out, published in all pages, that is carried with us, that formed the basis of the doctrine. Anything else that we would say is up for debate, but these are Ein Sof. They are not debatable. Now, whether you wish to accept them or not is irrelevant to us. You just simply won't be Netzari. You won't be accepted as Netzari. That does not mean that you will be ostracized from our communities. You're welcome to partake with us. You're able to sit with us. We're not putting you in a special room far, far away. We wouldn't consider you dirty or unclean. Unless you happen to be of, say, satanic leanings, then maybe, perhaps, you may find a better place to live, or dwell, or fellowship with, because we have lightness, and we do not have any fellowship with darkness. That means saying that if a Wiccan or somebody showed up of that particular denomination or group, showed up in our congregations, simply out of curiosity of what we are, they'd be more than welcome. Although they may feel rather out of place being around us and nervous, we would welcome them and try to make them feel as much as home, as relaxed as possible, and as comforting as possible. If they don't understand, brothers and sisters would be happy to sit beside them and answer in any and every question that they may have. Some may require the answer, that's something you need to talk with our leaders with. I don't have the proper learning or understanding or even the authorities to give you that answer. They were formed in roughly, according to our current calendar, Yeshua died around 30 CE. Roughly, 30-31. And we were present in the first and second councils of Jerusalem, where the elders of the what you call the apostolic age were there. Paul, or Shaul, Peter, or as you know, Peter, or as we call him, Cephas, and many of the elders were still alive on those days. They gathered together to debate certain things, one of which was the circumcision of Gentiles and eating of meats. They said that these things were of the law of Moses and did not have to be applied. That does not include the 10. The 10 are royal decrees, and these are given by God. These were not Moses' laws. These are not the Mosaic covenant. The Mosaic laws refer to the civil part of the law. Who we're allowed to marry, what we're allowed to marry, when we're allowed to marry. Certain rites and rituals which need to perform versus when you're clean or unclean. And other institutions by where Gentiles need not apply. Of course, as they do so by choice. I began to practice certain rites and rituals prior to my teachings, laws, and understanding. Before my education, I was becoming enlightened and began to choose certain paths. While my congregation that I fellowship with, which was the Emmanuel Fellowship congregation of the Maritime Conference, in the home church of Zeeland, New Brunswick, called Central Christian Center Church. They were full gospel, and I believed in the Sabbath. They were a Sunday meeting church. Now I took a page out of Galatians and did not condemn them for Sunday keepers. It says, for those that keep the Sabbath unto the Lord, they should keep the Sabbath. And those which meet and do not keep the Sabbath, keep a Sabbath, keep a day of rest. To them that meet on those days, let them also they keep it unto the Lord. Very simplistic, very personal. So those that condemn other people for what day they meet on, at least it was a day that they could meet on. Scripturally, the original law on the Sabbath says, on the seventh day we should rest. And we are told, one day in 7. 6 days you shall work, on the seventh day you shall rest. Sometimes we don't get a choice where that seventh day comes up. And we're told as well to be submissive to those leaders. But where I find in those circumstances and situations, I say, Lord, you are Lord of the Sabbath. you created, your master. Give me the freedom that I too may worship and fellowship and rest on that day. Now, even being that I get those days, there are certain people around me that like to bother me on that day. Do this, do that, do this, do this, do that, do that, do that. Run, 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 run. Phone, 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 phone. It gets very tiring. But I often point out with a little smile on my face that there was one group that kept 6 days and rested on the Sabbath. But there was one group, also set apart, that kept 6 days and only worked on the seventh day, and that was the priesthood, because it was their job to work on that day. So think about. But anyway, that being said, in our history, we were formed by the joining of two people. The Pharisees get the knockoff ball. They are the ones that killed Jesus, right? We have to look in the Bible, and again it says what? There were certain members of the Pharisees that believed he was who he was, that he was the Son of God, that he was holy and redemptive, and that his price would be paying the price. They were sympathetic, they loved him and followed him. They supported him in every work and endeavor, covering bills and other expenses that he needed. Whatever the master asked of them, they considered them their students, his followers, and did exactly as they could, sometimes quietly, because of fear of the rest of the councils. They held to the school of the Pharisees. And Yeshua and his teachings tend to look more like the Essene and what they taught, what they believed in that day. But there's no connection deliberately identifying one school and another, other than the fact that he used to ride the heck out of the Pharisees, and definitely the Pharisees loved him when he attacked those Sadducees. Oh, those people. Oh, I tell you, they're like the liberal theologians of today. But we don't attack them, do we, my conservative brothers? Oh, no, 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 we love them. We love them when they die. I mean, to death. I mean, how they die is up to God, right? We wouldn't personally hold it to them if we just slightly fist slip a couple of times. Ah, I joke with you guys. That's where we were born. In approximately somewhere between AD or CE, as we call it now in the current calendar, between 38 and 40. And the Council of Jerusalem were in CE 48 and CE 50. And that you have it. A little bit more in the second part of Welcome to My World. This is Daniel saying Shalom and Shabbat Shalom, because this was done on a Sabbath day. Fire my camera. Stone me. Blessings and God bless you.